I'm probably gonna butcher his name, so please forgive me if I do, but Ghiaccio is probably one of the coolest stand users that I have personally seen, because he's one of the first individuals to really ever show someone using a stand as, like, protective armor, like equipping their stand as armor around them. I mean, you could kind of say Vanilla Ice was similar to that. I mean, he creeped inside of his stand and hid inside of it, but besides that, I think this is the first real time we've seen to activate your stand. It's basically body armor. It's pretty freaking cool. And Ghiaccio is probably one of my favorite fights I have seen from JoJo Part 5. At least, you know, out of all the minor fights or side fights and stuff, he's probably one of my favorites, because I just like his stand. His stand is just so simplistic, but it's enjoyable to watch, because let's look at how dangerous it was. It may not be like a death aura, like, you know, instantly killing someone with, you know, old age or whatever, but his stand is so basic, it's scary, because he literally freezes the environment around him. And at first glance, it doesn't seem that bad, but when you see what he does in this episode, slowly freezing the car, and how it gets, like, below negative, you know, 100 degrees Celsius, it's ridiculous. And just seeing, you know, Giorno, seeing Mista just instantly freezing, like, as soon as Mista hits the window, and when he looks back, he sees his finger literally stuck to the windshield, and you're like, oh my god, like, it proves how cold it is. To be that cold, to rip off your finger, a body part, without you even feeling it, is pretty insane. It has to be extremely cold to be able to do something like that. So, like I said, you know, Ghiaccio's, you know, stand power, it may not be as fancy or outlandish as we've seen before, but I just love the basic use of it and the way he equips his stand and, you know, has kind of like skates on. He skates on the ground and he chases after Giorno in the car. It's really cool. But, you know, I guess I'll stop fanboying at that. I do, however, like the voice actor selection for Ghiaccio. I don't know how many of you noticed this, but Ghiaccio's voice actor is Bakugo. Yeah, you know, Bakugo, you know, our Explodo head, you know, Bakugo from My Hero Academia. Yeah, that character, that voice actor is apparently voice acting Ghiaccio for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5. I think that's probably the best voice actor for this character, because his temper tantrum when he got all angry when someone was messing up the pronunciation of, you know, Italian, and I'm like, that's hilarious. I love how they kept that in for this. I thought it was actually going to get removed. It was kind of rearranged from what I can remember from the manga, but I'm glad that they kept it in. I'm glad that David Production showed that side to his character, kind of showing that, you know, the man has a lot of anger issues. He has a temper tantrum, and he has this very unique personality about him, and I think many are going to love his character. I think out of everybody we have seen from, you know, JoJo Part 5, he's probably going to be one to really stand out. I mean, the last one with Fishy, you know, he was a really good character. I loved, you know, his development and how, you know, he changed as a villain. He became more motivated, and he had courage. But I do love, you know, Ghiaccio and how he, as an individual, just has this very unique style to him. And, you know, his character design as well. The way his hair is, to his suit. Big design, you know, big fan of his design for his character. Probably one of my favorite designs, honestly. So, okay. So, after the events of last episode, obviously the fight still needed to be concluded. Giorno is still going up against, you know, the stand user that's able to create, you know, anything he wants. For instance, create a new stand, like, you know, a remote stand to be able to adapt to its opponent. And Giorno is able to take down the stand, and in turn, he's able to use a snake to be able to deal with Melon and bring him down with a venomous snake. Which, by the way, that probably has to be one of the most painful ways to go. I mean, the man legit got bit on his tongue by a poisonous snake that was kind of burning on fire. Got bit on the tongue. That's horrible. It's straight up freaking horrible that, you know, the way he died. Probably one of the most brutal deaths in Part 5. I mean, it may not be as flashy, like maybe getting dismembered or something, but it's brutal because, you know, getting bit on the tongue like that, oh my god, like, nightmare fuel. It's nightmare fuel, because you probably, even if you got the antidote, like, you know, the anti-venom and stuff, you know, getting bit on your tongue, you realize the pain, just the sheer pain of getting bit right there. Oh my god. But okay. Anyways, after that entire segment is done within this episode and Giorno's able to defeat them, you know, he moves over to the next phase. You know, Bruno figures out what needs to be done, and we get, you know, where the crew needs to go next. For instance, the next stage of the plans. One of the capos that we met a couple episodes back, he reveals that where they need to go. You know, they need to get a certain item and be able to bring it back to be able to get Trish, you know, safely to her father. And the dude actually ends up ending himself once everything is said and done. And the reason why he does this, he reveals that he was already compromised. He was already revealed, compromised, so he ended his life because, you know, he didn't want to be a liability to anyone. So that's why he actually did it. But here's the big point, though. It's kind of sad how he goes out. You can see he wasn't forced to do it. Like, you can see he did it with his own will. He wasn't, like, being held at gunpoint to be able to do it. But you can see the man in that moment, he was sad he wouldn't be able to see any of them or, you know, be able to see the conclusion of their journey. He's like, from the bottom of my heart, I hope you guys are okay. You become, you know, you're fine. Trish gets there. You know, just the way the man acts in general. You could see he was a kind dude. He was a good man, and it's sad to see the man go like he did in this episode, and he will be missed. He wasn't around for a long time, but I, you know, have to admit, he grew on me, and I think many can agree he was a great character while he was around, or he just was a good person. So, anyways, we do get to see the boss a little bit in this episode. He talks about the journey that Bruno and them are having to take to get to him with Trish. He is covered up, and you can't really see him and all that, which, when you really look at his design, his silhouette, and just the way what was shown in this episode, it's very reminiscent of the beginning of JoJo's opening. For instance, Part 5's opening, when you see, you know, the man, the statue, you just see it slowly going up and all that. It's reminiscent of that style. But I just wanted to point that out because if you notice the way his clothing looks, or just how he looks in general, it reminds you of the opening to the opening song, like, you know, right at the beginning of it. So, yeah, I mean, I guess let's get into the actual way they're going to handle this, or how Giorno and Mista can handle this. So, with the car freezing on, you know, like a non-busy highway, it's pretty rough, pretty brutal, because, you know, they can't really get away from a man that's just freezing the air around him, freezing stuff. They can't just run from this man. I mean, he can ice skate and keep up with a moving vehicle. So, if you're on foot, you're not getting away from the man. There's no way. The man was able to freeze the exhaust. The exhaust air from the vehicle to hold on to the vehicle. If you're able to do something like that and freeze it that quickly, then this man, you're not getting away from him. He can definitely catch up to you in relative ease. Which, by the way, let's talk about what happened. So, Giorno was going to dive into the water at the end. They're going to go into the canal. And it makes you wonder, like, why would you do that? With how cold it is, why would you give this man perfect ammo to be able to hurt all of us? Because think about it. If Giorno and Mista dives into the water, the man can freeze the water. And because of that, when he freezes the water, you know, they're not gonna, you know, be able to do anything. I mean, as soon as they land down, he just has to freeze the top part of the water. They can't rise up because there's ice there, and they'll just drown. That's just how it is. I mean, if you have ever seen ice lakes, or if you've heard stories about ice lakes or rivers or whatever, you know how they say, don't walk on the ice, because if the ice cracks and you fall down, there's a possibility, besides just getting hypothermia and getting out of it, having, like, you know, hypothermia, if you fall down, because of how the, you know, the ice is, there could still be flowing water underneath the ice. And so there's still an active current. The current is still going. And so if you get pulled down and it's a strong enough current, you're going to move away from the hole in that ice, and you're not going to be able to get back up because, once again, completely frozen solid above you. So if, you know, they fall into the water and the man completely freezes the top layer and not, you know, all the way down to the ground, but if he does, they're dead. But if he freezes the top layer and they're not strong enough to be able to break through the ice, they will drown and die. So, it's a brutal, you know, outlook on this fight. And it makes you wonder why Giorno is making such a risky play in this moment and why he needs to do it. I mean, when you think about it, it's probably the only option because, I mean, they can't get away from the man. I mean, he's keeping up with the vehicle, so probably getting in the water would probably be the best bet. I mean, if they could somehow swim, get enough momentum with the car, get down deep into the water, and kind of swim, you know, a certain distance away, maybe they could get away, but it's just like, still, the stand the man has, you know, it's not something that you can easily just, you know, throw off and get rid of because of just how he can freeze the air. So, I think that's pretty much about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about this week's episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Please be honest in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, I love you guys. Chibi out.